NaLyssa Smith, a star in her own right, found herself at the center of a firestorm that no one saw coming. It wasn't a hard foul or some sideline argument that threw her into the spotlight this time. Instead, it was something far more unexpected and controversial. The basketball world was buzzing after claims surfaced that NaLyssa had been dishing out Caitlin Clark's play calls, which led to a frenzy no one could have predicted. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. To say this was a bombshell would be an understatement. People talk about rivalries in the competition between players, but this was betrayal of a different breed, one that went beyond the hardwood. It had people scratching their heads and others, let's be honest, grinning at the sheer madness of it all. Imagine having your own teammate or someone within your basketball circle give up your game plan to the opposition. The notion alone seemed outrageous, but when the name NaLyssa Smith was attached to it, it became a headline nobody could ignore. Caitlin Clark, the Iowa sensation, had built a reputation for being one of the most dangerous players in women's basketball. Her sharp shooting, her ability to control the floor, it was something that left defenses scrambling for solutions. She was unstoppable, or so it seemed. Now the idea that one of her competitors was potentially feeding her secrets to the enemy made waves. Suddenly, every turnover, every missed shot, and every defensive breakdown had people wondering. Was it because someone had inside knowledge? It wasn't just fans that were caught up in the drama. Players across the league had to weigh in, with some finding humor in the situation, while others treated it like a full-blown scandal. One can only imagine the locker room chatter. Picture players shaking their heads, laughing in disbelief at how something like this even became possible. The sheer absurdity of it all kept the conversation going for days. NaLyssa Smith, for her part, didn't back down from the chaos. Known for her intensity on the court and her fearlessness off it, NaLyssa didn't just fold under the weight of these accusations. Instead, she went the opposite direction, absolutely nuts. The competitive fire that made her a beast on the court now spilled over into the public arena. And boy, was she vocal about it. Anytime someone tried to corner her on the topic, she pushed back with the force of a full-court press. "Y'all really think I'm out here handing out cheat codes?" She fired back at reporters one day, her tone equal parts sarcasm and frustration. There was something almost humorous in her response, like she couldn't believe how ridiculous this all had become. She was a competitor, sure, but to suggest she was feeding plays to anyone, that crossed the line for her. And so, NaLyssa wasn't going to take this one lying down. What made it even wilder was the dynamic between NaLyssa and Caitlin. While they weren't exactly best friends, there was a mutual respect between them that no one could deny. They had battled on the court enough times to know each other's tendencies. But NaLyssa feeding out Clark's play calls, that was something else entirely. It felt personal, and in sports, when things get personal, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. Now, some of the whispers had started from rival teams. Word on the street was that NaLyssa might have overheard something during a game or practice. Maybe she had a little too much intel after one of their matchups. After all, she wasn't a stranger to facing Clark and Noah. But when those whispers turned into a full-blown rumor that she was intentionally leaking information, that's when things spiraled out of control. The implications were staggering. Imagine the distrust this would breed among players. Every time someone saw NaLyssa after that, they had to wonder, was she listening in? Was she taking mental notes? Paranoia could set in fast in a situation like this, where athletes rely on their tight-knit circles to protect their secrets and strategies. This wasn't just about a few play calls. It was about the sanctity of competition. And that's what made this situation so captivating for fans and players alike. On one hand, it was hard to wrap your head around the idea of NaLyssa being involved in something like this. She was fierce, yes, but she had always seemed to embody the spirit of competition, the type to take pride in earning victories through grit and grind. On the other hand, for those who believed it, the narrative fit neatly into the ongoing drama of the season. Nothing stays quiet for long in sports, and this incident was no different. It seemed like every day, new details would emerge, some more believable than others, but each fueling the fire. It didn't take long for social media to jump into the fray. Memes started popping up everywhere, with photos of NaLyssa looking suspiciously over her shoulder as if plotting her next move. Others had her in detective gear, pretending to listen in on huddles from across the court. The internet, being the internet, took the drama and turned it into comedic gold. But even with all the humor floating around, there was a serious undertone to the situation. Trust had been broken, or at least, that's how it seemed. The coaching staff from various teams also began to weigh in, though most kept their comments vague, not wanting to get too deep into the muck. Coaches are known for being protective of their game plans, constantly working to stay one step ahead of the opposition. So you can imagine their discomfort at the idea of a player, even unintentionally, giving away their strategy. This was like a nightmare scenario for any coach worth their clipboard. NaLyssa's reaction to the growing uproar continued to be as fiery as ever. Her social media accounts became a place of pure defiance, posting cryptic messages that kept people guessing what was really going on behind the scenes. Was she making a statement, or was she just playing with the narrative? No one could tell for sure. But what was clear was that NaLyssa wasn't going to let this pass without a fight. And it wasn't just her social media that was buzzing. During games, she seemed even more locked in than usual, playing with an edge that had everyone on notice. It was as if she wanted to remind everyone exactly who she was, a player that dominated through sheer will and talent, not by cheating or cutting corners. Her performances became a statement unto themselves, as if to say, I don't need your plays to beat you. I've got everything I need right here. In many ways, this situation showcased the intensity and pressure that comes with being a top-tier athlete. The higher you rise, the more people want to bring you down, whether it's through rumors, controversy, or just plain bad luck. For NaLyssa, this episode became a defining moment, not because of the actual event, but because of how she responded. She didn't wilt under the spotlight, she thrived in it. The more the story grew, the harder she seemed to play. The Caitlin Clark angle also can't be ignored here. As much as the narrative focused on NaLyssa, Caitlin had a role to play as well. Being on the other side of this betrayal couldn't have been easy. While she never publicly lashed out or made a big deal of the accusations, there had to be a part of her wondering if the whole thing was real. Trust between players is fragile, especially at this level of competition. If there was even a hint that someone had sold her out, it would be hard to shake that feeling moving forward. But for now, it was NaLyssa's world, and everyone else was just trying to make sense of it. Her ability to control the narrative, or at least disrupt it, was nothing short of impressive. She kept the basketball world on its toes, never fully confirming or denying anything, just leaning into the chaos with a smirk that suggested she was having more fun with this than anyone else. In the end, this story wasn't about a play call or some secret strategy being leaked. It was about power, perception, and the complicated relationships that exist between competitors. NaLyssa Smith, whether guilty or not, found herself at the heart of a drama that highlighted the fragility of trust in professional sports. Her reaction, going nuts as some called it, was less about the accusations themselves and more about the audacity of anyone thinking she would stoop to such levels. As the season continued, the conversations about NaLyssa and Caitlin quieted down, but the ripple effects were still felt. People would always remember that time when NaLyssa was accused of the ultimate betrayal. And while the truth may never be fully known, one thing was certain. NaLyssa Smith wasn't going to let anyone define her story for her. She was writing it herself, play by play, moment by moment. In a sport where control is everything, NaLyssa proved that sometimes the most powerful move is to lean into the madness and come out on the other side stronger than ever. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.